Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Let's welcome today's speaker, Craig.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Craig. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't been in this meeting in a long time. I used to come here a lot. I'm not originally from the Los Angeles area, but I lived here for a long time. I moved to Los Angeles when I was 2 years, nearly 3 years sober in 1995. And the meetings in Southern California kept me sober till now. So, well done you. I know that this is, before the meeting, you were saying we're going to record you. And I used to love the idea of being recorded so that I could listen to myself. But I've been sober for a long time now, and I don't know if I want to be recorded anymore. I feel like it could be used in evidence against me at some point. And also I have spoken a lot over the years at meetings, and I'm grateful that most of that probably hasn't been recorded. Because if you've ever heard me speak before today, I cannot defend what I have said up until this point. But it kept me sober, I suppose. So that's that. I moved back to where I'm from, which is a town called Glasgow in Scotland. I moved there last May. I moved there because I wanted to go back there and for a whole bunch of reasons. And I was a little concerned because when I got sober, I didn't like the meetings in Glasgow. They were awful and dark and full of anger and rage. And I went back, and they're not like that at all. I don't know what happened to the meetings over there, but I have to tell you, they are spectacular. These people have improved their AA so much. They are to be congratulated. One thing they do in Scotland, my home group now is the Girvan Monday night meeting. It's a small meeting in a town called Girvan in Scotland, and if you ever get a chance to go there. I've taken some American friends there who loved it. Didn't understand a word of anything that was being said, but nobody got drunk. It is a great meeting, and I do highly suggest it on the AA retirement tourist trail. You don't get to retire in AA, by the way. We were just talking about this before the meeting, that if you're ever unemployed and you're in Alcoholics Anonymous, you're not unemployed. You'll always have a job. If you ever think, I don't know what to do, you know what you have to do. And if you're new, I'm gonna mention that, because what they do in Glasgow, which I like very much, I think they've always done it, I just didn't notice it, is that for the first 5 minutes, they have a speaker at every meeting who talks for 5 minutes at the start of the meeting about the allergy and the first drink, the danger of the first drink. Which might sound a bit repetitive to some of you gurus, but to me, it helps focus the mind and focus the meeting and remind me what I'm dealing with. So I'm dealing with a disease called alcoholism, which I still have, even though I haven't had a drink since the 18th of February, 1992. The allergy that I have for alcohol, that I presume you have too, is one that manifests itself as a compulsion. If I drink alcohol, I no longer, I find it very, very difficult, almost impossible. In fact, I couldn't really ever stop. I couldn't tell you what was going to happen next. When people talk about their drug of choice, I think, I didn't feel like I had a choice. Once I drank alcohol, all choice was removed, and I was going wherever it was going to take me. And yet, sometimes it didn't happen like that, which was confusing. It's cunning and baffling and powerful. Because I think, I'll be able to drink a little bit, and I couldn't. And sometimes I thought, well, no, here I go. And I'm like, no, it didn't happen often, but it happened every now and again, enough to fool me. People say, when you're in the meetings, your illness is outside doing push-ups. I do not subscribe to that. I believe that when you're in the meetings, your illness is sitting next to you taking notes. It never quits. Never. What I have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of my spiritual condition. It's very important that you understand maintenance of the spiritual condition. David and I were talking before the meeting about you have to have a spiritual condition before you can maintain it. And also, it doesn't say the quality of your spiritual condition. It says the maintenance of your spiritual condition. And it's very important for me because some days I don't feel very spiritual and well and like a shimmering beacon of health that you see before you right now. And sometimes I don't feel so spiritual and well. But if I attend myself to the maintenance of my spiritual condition, that'll be sufficient to get me through whatever I'm going through. If you're new, and I know there are some people here who are new, please don't be afraid. You can also take calls up until 20 years. That's all right. And it really is all right. It really is all right. Please don't kill yourself over it. Your phone went off. So what? It doesn't matter. We're cool. We're cool. I release you. I've been to a couple of Al-Anon meetings. I know what to say. I'm an alcoholic. I drank alcoholically from a very young age, from about 13 years old. It's not legal in Scotland to drink at 13 years old, but it's kind of okay. And it's a very alcoholic society, or it was when I was growing up. You know what? It wasn't. I'm an alcoholic. That's why. Jeez, even as I swear to God, I'm trying to be a channel of thy peace today as I'm standing here, and I'm still trying to find a way to blame somebody else. It's not more alcoholic than anywhere else. It's just a place. It's a beautiful place full of lovely meetings and people who will help you and give you biscuits. It is. I'm an alcoholic. I can't drink alcohol with safety. And if you don't know if you're an alcoholic or not, you're here. So, the jury might still be out, but I think you instinctively know that's not true. When I came here, and a couple of times since I've been here in the past, I've thought I wasn't an alcoholic. Thank goodness I haven't thought of it sufficiently to experiment again. There's a couple of questions in the big book, which is very good, by the way. If you haven't read it, I would. If when you start drinking you can't stop, or if you have difficulty controlling and enjoying your drinking, you're probably an alcoholic. I would add my own little bit to that is if you're in this rather vivid meeting on a Sunday morning, you're probably an alcoholic. It's not terrible news. When I came here, I was very frightened. I thought it was, I was joining a cross between the Weight Watchers and the Moonies. That it was yet another mental aberration. What was I doing now? What weird thing was I doing? What thing was I doing now? And I was thinking a lot about myself. I think a lot about myself. It's very, oh God. Relieve me of the bondage of self. That's a very interesting phrase. if I'm not making a lot of sense today, I just did my step 5. Not for the first time, but I just, because that would be great if I, whoa. I just did a step 5 with my sponsor. I've had the same sponsor since I came into AA. I got sober in London, actually. And the first meeting I went to was Pont Street on a Monday. And the guy who was speaking was Scottish. And my friend Jimmy, Jimmy was there, and he said, "You should talk to that guy. He's one of your people." So I went over and I talked to him, and I told him I was a bit scared. And he didn't make fun of me or ask me why I was scared. Didn't ask me why I was scared. Just said, "Oh, right." He does a lot of that. Whenever I tell him things, he goes, "Oh, right." Anyway, nowadays he lives in Prescott, Arizona, where I believe that they have a community of old-time AAs there. And I went out to Prescott, and I did a step 5 with him this weekend, and I highly recommend it. The inventory process is essential. I never really understood it for the longest time. It's explained to me, like, if you clean your apartment in 1992, it's probably not just going to stay clean because you cleaned it in 1992. Stuff accumulates over the years, and I think the inventory process is essential to clear the channels, to make you, to open up me to the sunlight of the Spirit, for want of a better phrase. Sunlight of the Spirit sounds to me, sometimes I hear things it means, and I think it sounds a little revivalist to me, but it's just true. It's just true. My sponsor defines what he does, or the inventory process is, sponsorship is, he says, "I hold the flashlight, you dig." And it kind of works. What's that over there? Dig it out. I don't want it. It's stinking. Dig it out. And we dig it out. We uncover it. As Chuck C. used to say, uncover, discover, discard. That's what he used to say, isn't it? Yeah. I have noticed in the time that I have been sober, I've been sober a long time. I presume you know how to drink, or else, or you know that you can. So why are you here? I also took drugs when I was drinking. I don't know if anybody has a problem with that. Frankly, I don't care. I didn't. I took a drug called cocaine. I don't know if you know it. It's a vitamin that helps you drink more. That's really what it is. It's some kind of super vitamin. You take it. Oh, I can drink even more. And it has the added effect. You don't really black out when you take it, so you know who to avoid for a couple of years after you. It doesn't change your behavior. It just. So I took that, and I drank so much. But I noticed a friend of mine, a guy called Jimmy, who I love, a guy I used to drink and take cocaine with. Even although I didn't think at the time, oh, this cocaine will mean I'll have to go to a different 12-step program once I get sober. This guy that I used to drink and take coke with disappeared off the scene, and there were rumors about him, dark rumors swirling that he'd got religion, and he'd joined the AAs, and he had been seen around town with his wife. We knew it was serious, and he'd started wearing knitwear and stuff like that. Anyway, and then one night it got bad enough, and I called him. If you haven't had the gift of desperation, I sincerely hope that you can find it without getting drunk. I feel so blessed that I got the gift of utter despair. If you're sitting here in utter despair, congratulations, because that's what's kept me sometimes from going back out. Sometimes, there was a gentleman who was taking, happy birthday to the birthday people, the gentleman who was taking a cake who said, you said you found 3 reasons on the way here to have a drink. There was was a guy in Glasgow when I first went to meetings there early on, before they improved them. It was Big Tommy. Big Tommy used to say, "I've been sober for 30 years, and in all that time I have never needed nor wanted a drink." And I used to think, why do you come? And even now, as I approach the 20s, I'm 27 and a bit years sober myself. I can't say that I have neither needed nor wanted a drink. I have. I have both needed and wanted a drink in the 27 years I've been here, but I haven't had one. And that's a miracle for an alcoholic. But I've had some uncomfortable times. And some things life tends to happen over a period of 27 plus years. Stuff tends to go on. I don't know if any of you can identify with this. I sometimes have a bit of a problem with self-pity. I feel like sometimes it's about me, and it can get, I think self-pity is actually, it's very dangerous. I think people die over that. It very nearly killed me. A couple of years ago, I'm going to tell you a little story. This is true. And let me preface this by saying I was down to one meeting a week with 4 guys that I knew, which is not recommended. A family that lived near us, that lived near us in LA, they had a 13-year-old who died very tragically. It was just horrible. Just horrible. A terrible story for that family. And of course, the first thing you do is you feel terrible for them. But very, very quickly, and really, this is why I don't really like being taped, very quickly it became really a tragedy that personally affected me. Now, it's not my tragedy, it's their tragedy. It's a terrible thing, but it's their tragedy. But this was, to me, this is there isn't a God, clearly. Here's yet more proof that there is no God. There is, how can such an awful thing happen? Not even to me, just near me, in my neighborhood. And it was bad, and then I had to get some dental surgery. So I was getting this big dental surgery, and the dentist said to me, "You're going to need a painkiller after this." And I went, "Nah, I don't do painkillers." And he's like, "Okay." Because he's a medical professional, and he understands how drugs work. We don't, unless you're a medical professional. Anyway, he said, "You're going to need a painkiller." And I said, "No, I don't do painkillers." And he went, "Fine, look, just fill the prescription just in case." And I'm like, "No." However, my wife filled the prescription just in case. And then when the pain of the surgery wore off, it was extreme. It was bad. And I called my sponsor and I said, I think I have to take this painkiller. And he's like, "Okay, well, if you wanted to stay on the phone, we'll talk about it. You take a painkiller." You have to be careful with painkillers. They're very dangerous for alcoholics. They really are. You must be, I would stress that. They are very, very dangerous. But they are also medicine sometimes if you're in a lot of pain. So I'm talking to my sponsor, and we open up the painkiller with the tongs, and the smoke comes out. And Clancy's above my house in a fucking helicopter. "Okay, release the Kraken." And I get this painkiller, and I take it, and about 45 minutes later, I'm still not high, and the pain has gone. And I felt fine. I didn't take it anymore. I think I took it maybe one other time, but much less than was required. I was very careful. I did what they suggest in AA when you're around that kind of thing. So you've got to be careful. And then I was all right, but I was still at one meeting a week. And then I started to have this idea that, where I should go? Juarez. I've never been to Juarez. It's a town in Mexico that has a reputation of being lively. I thought, you need to go to Juarez, and you need to get drunk in Juarez. And I was thinking, why do I need to get drunk in Juarez? Because I won't last long in Juarez. If you were to take, I'm quite noisy when I'm drunk. I'm quite noticeable when I'm drunk. I imagine in Juarez I'd be very noticeable when I was drunk. And I thought I'd get killed pretty quick. And that's what I was looking for. That's what I was looking for. I was suicidal, but kind of chicken shit suicidal. I wanted someone else to do it. I felt bad. I felt so bad. This is how bad it got. I thought, I think I have to go and see my sponsor. So I phoned him. Now, it's best to call your sponsor before you go to Juarez, and I had learned that, and nothing against anyone from Juarez, by the way. I'm sure the meetings are good there too, but it was just me, you know. So I said, I have to go and see my sponsor. So I drove out to Prescott, Arizona, where he lives, and I got there. It was my 26th AA birthday. And my sponsor sleeps until about 8 o'clock in the morning, like some kind of monster. So I was up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Earlier than that, I'd been up all night, and I stayed in some hotel, and I was walking around. Prescott, Arizona is a beautiful little town. It's a beautiful town, and it's got a town square. You know, it looks like Back to the Future. You know, the clock and all that. It's gorgeous. And I'm walking around, and I was on the phone to my wife. And I was telling her how much I hated Prescott, Arizona, and what an awful town it was. And I said to her these exact words. I said, what kind of a town doesn't have black people in it? What kind of a town? And I could not see any black people in Prescott. I was like, this is weird. This is like it's a weird, I don't like it. I hate this town. There's no black people in this town, and that makes me feel weird. And just at that very moment, African-American gentleman, about 6'5", walks around the corner. He's about 65 years old, and he said, good morning. I said, good morning. And then I just kept walking. He kept walking. I never really thought about it. I found something else to hate Prescott about. I went off it's a racist enclave. And then I go to a meeting with my sponsor. I go see my sponsor, and he helps me out. I go to a meeting at noon that day. Fucking guy walked into the meeting. I was like, what the hell is that? And then so they say, during the meeting, they have, the meeting's there, they're okay. And they said, anyone from out of town? And this gentleman stands up and he says, hi, my name's John, I'm from out of town. I don't normally come here. And I'm like, oh God, this is crazy. So at the end of the meeting, I go over to John and I say, John, I saw you this morning walking around the square. That's amazing that you're in the meeting. I saw you walking around the square this morning. And he said, why don't you walk with me sometimes? It's like, okay. I've never seen him again. He hasn't even been back to the meeting. I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm thinking, shit. There could be something in this. Now, the weird thing is, I'm not saying anything other than, that's very weird to me. And what happened was, I've had it happen to me on a reverse circumstance. I went to 21st and Broadway one day. 26th and Broadway. And I walked in, and there was a girl I knew that we'd had a romantic relationship some years previously, and we'd broken up, but not least of which she liked to drink and I don't. And we went there, and she was there at a meeting, and she started crying, and I was like, oh God. I said, are you okay? And she went, yeah, I did this deal with God before the meeting, that because you're the only alcoholic I know in recovery, that if you were at the meeting, that I'd stay. I've never been back to that meeting. But truth is, I don't go to that meeting anyway. And I don't even know if she stayed sober. But I think sometimes, I'm not saying the guy I met God in Prescott, Arizona. I'm just saying shit happens, and it's good to pay attention. It's such a strange, odd trip, this. And I need it much more now than I did when I was sober. I was quite tough. When I was newly sober, when I was newly sober, I was quite resilient in an odd way. I had this, I don't know, I was numb, maybe is a better way of putting it. I was kind of numb. And now I'm not like that. I'm very sensitive. And so what happened was, I went to Prescott, Arizona, and my sponsor said, well, we're going to have to do the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we did. I did them again. If you want to get sober, I presume you new people want to get sober. I'm sure you do, and I know you do, and you will. You'll be fine. Here's what you do. Because I used to say, particularly, see, people, because I've been on TV in my job and stuff like that, so sometimes I get asked to speak at meetings, but I had no business fucking speaking to anybody. You know, and I remember speaking in the Valley once, and somebody, you know, and I was like in the height of my crazy, and, you know, I was like, I don't even know how it works. Just come to the meetings. And see, I give somebody else's voice when I'm being crazy. Did you notice that? I just noticed that. When I'm saying something horrible, I put it in someone else, this person. Because this person talks crazy, but when me, I'm reasonable, but this person is crazy. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace. So I was talking at the meeting and I was saying, I don't know how it works. Just come to the meetings and somehow it'll work. And then this cranky old timer, after he was the literature guy, said, if you don't know how it works, you read the chapter in the book. It's called How It Works. It's like, and somewhere in the midst of all my self-pity and shame, a little nugget of fuck you got in there, and I was like, oh God, that's right. Somehow it reached me, and I can't even remember what I go. And that guy's as much God as the guy walking around Prescott. It was easier, you know. Anyway, I stay sober today, doing that. It's very, very simple. It is very simple. I have overcome that. I'm a very slow learner, and I made it very difficult for myself. And you don't have to do that. So here's what you do. There is a program of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the 12 steps. The bullet points, that's just the bullet points. The steps are actually laid out in the book. And if you go through it with someone who understands the book and knows how to read it, it's great. It's a textbook. It's not a novel. It's a textbook. So you can read through it with someone who's done it before, and someone that you trust, and someone who understands the 12 steps. And the program of Alcoholics Anonymous will get and keep you sober and rocket you into a life that you just can't believe is yours. And it will be great. But, not always, but that's all right. You'll be able to handle that. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous in the book called Alcoholics Anonymous, which is available at reasonable rates in the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's it. If anyone asks you for money and it's not the seventh tradition, raise an eyebrow to it. Check it with your sponsor. I have to say, occasionally, I know it's time for me to wrap it up. I've lapsed into my opinion from time to time here. I've tried not to. My experience is this. If you're an alcoholic of my type, which is kind of bog standard, I think, then the program of Alcoholics Anonymous will work for you. I was convinced that I was rarely have we seen a person fail, that those who do not recover are people who cannot and will not. We all think we're that person. And I've been that person from time to time, and I'm still sober. Very quickly, I would say this. In Alcoholics Anonymous, there's all these phrases when you first come in. Think, think, think. Get up. So don't do the thing. There was a phrase that I got that used to annoy me. It was called stick with the winners. I used to hate that phrase. Stick with the winners. I didn't understand it. Until it was explained to me that the winners, I said, it was an old timer I spoke to actually, I said, who are the winners? And he said, we take turns. We take turns. So if someone says something you don't like or you don't agree with, perhaps someone's speaking from the podium this very day. Perhaps it's not me you hate. Perhaps it's what I said that you hate. And if you discuss that with someone other than me, you'll get some resolution and peace. I don't know if I can defend anything I've said. So don't come at me with any old recordings. That's what I'm saying. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace. That's all I want. I wanted so much. Don't want any of that now. That's it. All right, it's now question and answer time. Oh, God. So just after me saying I can't defend anything I've said, please ask me any questions you like. And, yes, sir.
You said you need AA more now than ever, and as the disease is progressive, because I don't think we hear enough about the progressiveness of the disease, especially from old timers. How do you find the disease is progressing in your life?
If I may repeat the question, sort of, how do I find the disease has progressed in my life, because it's a progressive disease, even though I've been sober for a long time? I think it is progressed in the sense that it becomes harder to spot. I think it becomes more difficult to see it. Like when you're newly sober, my crazy was very visible. Even to me, you know, I would do behaviors that I really didn't want to do, but I didn't know how not to do. I think over time, the thought processes, was it Clancy described it as, you know, he threw in the towel when he got sober and he spent the rest of the time pulling it back, you know, and I kind of try and take control. I try and take control all the time. For a long time in sobriety, I had actually tried to, try to find more sobriety, which is a very alcoholic thing to do. You know, it's like, if I read this book, if I go to this thing, well, why if you add yoga? You know, I mean, all these things are great. You know, they're all great. But if you want to stay sober and you're new, it's the program of Alcoholics Anonymous in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, which is available at reasonable rates at the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and everything else is fucking gravy. That's all, really. That's what I think. That's what it is. Yes, sir.
Why did you go to meetings once a week?
I got too busy. Why did I go to meetings once a week? I got too fabulous in my own mind, and I was too busy. I'll tell you a story very briefly. It skirts on the edge of someone else's anonymity, but I think you'll be all right. When I was trying to get sober, a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, who many of you will know actually, he's around here. He was working in London, and I was working in London, and I had lunch with him, and he said, I was saying to him, it's all right for you, you're a big famous movie star, and I'm busy. I'm too busy to go to meetings. I'm trying to create my career. Your career's all there. And he said to me, this is where you might guess who he is. He said, well, let's see. I've just been given an Academy Award by the Academy in America, and I work in a film, and I've just been given a knighthood by Her Majesty the Queen. And I make 5 meetings a week, hot shot. You meet some great people in this game. Some great people. Yes, madam. Hi, Kathy.
I can't thank you enough with everything I resonated with, but I moved here almost 2 years ago from Michigan, and I have been directed through God with different people to this meeting almost since I got here. And I am here because I know the winners are here, my winners are here, you know who you are, and it is very important to be the winners because I feel such strength now, and that I'm going to be taken care of and I do belong, opposed to going for not the winners, maybe the losers.
Yes.
So, thank you. And the other thing is very important to me too, in the midst of, my life right now, I find that humor is really helping me. I don't know what you do, really.
Do you have a question?
How do you maintain
That's all right.
Your sense of humor, within AA in life.
How do I maintain my sense of humor in AA and in life? I swear I don't. I don't mean that facetiously. I mean what I mean is that this is who I am. This is just who I am. So I don't have a construct. I used to want to be somebody else. I'd much rather have not cried a little bit during the bit when I was talking. I was like, that's not really what I had in mind. But I'm a channel of thy peace, not my peace. My peace is non-fucking existent, but thy peace is existent. And so this is who I am. I didn't want to be who I am. When I was 1 minute, or last question. 1 minute, all right. So I'm sorry, I have to finish what I'm saying. So when I was drinking, I used to drink, for a short time I lived in this little village in England, and there was a pub in it. And I used to go there all the time. They got to know me, and they knew I was a drunk. And it was just a bunch of English people in this pub. And one night, it was like a country pub. One night, the mole catcher was in. And he was like a local celebrity. And he was like, he was telling us about some mole catching adventures. And after I'd had a couple of drinks, I said to the guys in the pub, I used to be a mole catcher. They were like, we know you're not a fucking mole catcher. You're not a mole catcher. I was like, oh yeah, I've been part of the furry brigade for, I don't know, trying to make up, because I just didn't want to be me. Yeah, I just didn't want to be me. I didn't be anything but me. I'll be a mole catcher before me. No disrespect to any mole catchers. But this is who I am. You know what? In a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to be 57 years old. What the hell am I going to do? What the hell am I going to do? I'm going to, get your approval? Maybe get a job? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. This is it. This is all I got. This is all I got. This is all I got. So, sorry I couldn't take your question. Oh, right, quickly then. Hurry up. Hi.
Thank you so much. I love your share. When a sponsee or anyone asks you about God and they have a hard time realizing there is a God, what is your response based upon
So basically, I have 30 seconds to define God. I don't know. I don't know what God is. But I think it's something we take turns. I think I took a turn when my old girlfriend was at the meeting. I think that man John took a turn when in Prescott, Arizona. And I think you all take a turn when you're quiet and let an alcoholic speak. That's it. That's God to me.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.